Yo, good morning, peace and blessings. It's your boy Jay Taylor, Voices for the Voiceless. And I'm back with another video, you know, trying to stay consistent out here, get back to it. Got to keep the content rolling, you feel me? But yeah, man, we got to finish off the interview that Trump did on CNBC. I did a reaction to majority of it, a little bit more than half of it. Maybe about 2 or 3 days ago, maybe four. And I did promise to do a part two. And where we left off the last time, was very interested with Trump with the banks. So if you haven't checked out part one, you could go through the catalog, a few videos back, maybe two or three. And it should say something to the effect of my reaction to Trump's interview on CNBC. So we got to finish that off. It was a lot of great information there. And the people that tuned in, they really enjoyed it. And I enjoyed covering it. I like doing reactions. And, I could listen to Trump all day. You know what I'm saying? Talking about the economy, talking about illegal immigration, and just his personal, travels with this whole, presidency. It's been a roller coaster ride, but hey, man, everything that man campaigned on, I gotta say, he been doing his part to try to, do what he can. You know what I'm saying? Everything that he campaigned on, he trying to manifest that. A lot of politicians say they're gonna do something. Either Trump is getting it done or he putting forth a great effort from my vantage point. But without further ado, and as always, I got to share, the Copyright Act of 1976, because we don't be wanting no smoke. You feel me? You feel me? You know what I'm saying? So, copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976, allowances made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in the favor of fair use. Okay, so that's how the would say. And like I was saying, when we left off, Trump was saying how when he got out of office, the banks discriminated towards him, which was weird. Trump, him being a billionaire and the bank telling them they could no longer do business with him, he had to take all his money out this, JP Morgan Chase and Bank of America, and with no good reason. Even his children said they was going through that. So he had to find different banks, smaller banks, to put a few million here, a few million there, which was very, 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 very strange, to say the least. But I'm not surprised, and I wouldn't be surprised if some of them Democrats was behind that. They've been behind a lot of this janky stuff that's been happening. But without further ado, I'm gonna bring y'all back up to speed, and we should continue the reaction. And it's gonna pretty much start where we left off with the interview, him talking about the situation with the banks. So we can go on here and bring that up, man. This is part two of my reaction to Trump's interview on CNBC, which is a more liberal platform. So I appreciate that, because Trump like to go on the lion's den. He don't be ducking no smoke. But yeah, man, let's get to it.
Never in this situation before. I've never had anything like it. And it's not like, gee, you defaulted on a loan. Geez, if I could understand that, that's different. But there's no default. There's nothing but cash. I have a really great company. And then what happens is I call up Bank of America routinely because when I was president, this was after I got out, by the way, I call up Bank of America routinely, and I speak to him, and I speak to a couple of people, and they have zero interest. Brian was kissing my ass when I was president, and when I called him after I was president to deposit $1 billion plus and a lot of other things, more importantly, to open accounts, which banks always like. They like accounts because they get interest free, you know, the overnights and things, a lot of reasons for it, but they like accounts. I had hundreds of accounts. And he said, we can't do it. No, we can't do it. So I went to another one. I ended up going to small banks all over the place. I mean, I was putting 10 million here, 10 million there, did 5 million, 10 million, 12 million. I have them all over the place, the craziest thing. And it's lucky I even had them. They were doing me a favor. And that's because the banks discriminated against me very badly. And I was very good to the banks. I had the greatest economy in the history of our country when I was president. And by the way, our economy now will blow that away. And you see it happening. But our economy now, because we're a rich country again, because of our trade deals, we've become a rich country again. But no, they totally discriminate against, I think me maybe even more, but they discriminate against many conservatives. You know, I told that story and sitting around tables with other people that were conservative or Trump supporters. I think the word might be Trump supporters more than conservative. And I believe what they did is they went to the regulators. You know, banks are not afraid of anything but a regulator. They're regulators and their wives. They're more afraid of their wives than the regulators. But the group they're really afraid of is bank regulators. And I believe that Biden or Kamala, and I don't think they're smart enough to do it, but the people that are surrounding the beautiful Resolute desk, you know, the high IQ people that are radical left, I believe they told the banking commission, the bankers, that the banking regulators, do everything you can to destroy Trump.
I think this is the part where we left off last time, you know, and as you can see, it was getting real interesting. Though the people that, not Kamala, not Joe Biden, but the people that are behind them, you know, so to speak, like the hand behind the curtain, the ones that pay, you know, Joe Biden and Kamala's salary were the ones that told the banks to discriminate against Trump. So we're all the way up to speed from the last video. Just wanted to make sure we got there. Let's continue.
And that's what they did. And guess what? I'm president. How did that happen?
Yeah, Mr. President, you've talked about you want success, not retribution. The Justice Department now tapping a grand jury to look into the intelligence community's assessment of what was happening with Russia. Is that you have nothing to do with directing the Justice Department?
No, I have nothing to do. Pam is doing a great job. I have nothing to do with it. I will tell you this. They deserve it. I was happy to hear it. I actually read it just like you did. I have nothing to do with it. But what they did in the election, what they did in even the last election, but it was too big to rig. But what they did in the 2020 election is grotesque. I mean, that was a rigged election, 100%.
Okay, we can't relitigate that. We can't relitigate that.
No, we're back to rigging again. Well, you can use it because everyone knows.
Yeah,
you know what? A year ago, you would have been upset if I said it. Today, it's different. I say it all the time. It was a rigged election. It was 100% rigged.
We can't relitigate because it.
And I'm sure that's going to be brought up.
Independent sources, even your Justice Department. But then I'm bringing up Bill Barr. But even they decide.
Yeah, if you remember that election, that's the one that Joe Biden won that he's saying was rigged. The 2020 election, when Joe Biden got more votes than any president in American history. I think he had something like upward of 81 million votes or something crazy. And, you know, with COVID going on, you had people sending in those paper ballots and all of that. It was just a lot of funny style activity going on. And for Joe Biden to get more votes than even Barack Obama was just strange. I say that much, you know what I'm saying? So I don't think Trump is far off, or it's far-fetched that there was some rigging going on, you know? And then it's like every election, like when he's talking about 2016. Now you got Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton under investigation because they allegedly came up with the whole Russia hoax. Like they said Trump colluded with Russia to rig the election in his favor back in 2016 when he won. And it was all a lie. And they knew it was a lie. Not only did they know, but Tulsi Gabbard, director of intelligence in Trump's administration, says she has evidence confirming that they manufactured and perpetuated the agenda of the Russia hoax. So they looking at being prosecuted. It's like, every time this man go up for office, I mean, even in this election, it was too big to rig in 2024 against Kamala, but they was trying all type of dirty schemes with this election. So, one have to question themselves, why do they go through such great lengths to try to keep this man out of office?
Decided that there were things that happened, but nothing that would have swayed it.
Well, they were wrong, and Bill Barr was wrong, and Bill Barr didn't investigate, and he should have. And why didn't Bill Barr give why didn't he give the Derma report? Why didn't he give that report, the stuff that's in there, that's all this stuff is coming out of it? Why didn't he give it earlier? I mean, why did it take so long to do it? And why didn't he give it? Why didn't they announce it earlier? Because it morphed. What happened is it morphed into the Biden administration, and the Biden administration buried it. So, it's too bad.
How about Texas?
No,
now we're going to do mid-year or midterm gerrymandering based on that's going to be a quid pro quo or something with in blue states now, Mr. President. Did you?
Well, they did it to us. Those blue states that you're talking about. Somebody gave a good example. In Massachusetts, I got, I think, 41% of the vote. It's a very, blue state. And yet it's got 100% of Congress, 100%. So I got 41% or something. And yet 100% of Congress in Massachusetts. No, it shouldn't be that way. We should have a couple of Congress people, but we have none. And think of this, 100%. In Illinois, where you have probably the dumbest of all governors, Illinois, that guy is really the business is flowing out of his state. It's terrible. It's a terrible thing that Pritzker's doing. He was the black sheep of the family. They threw him out of the business. But in Illinois, what's happened is terrible, what they're doing. And you notice they go to Illinois for safety, but that's all gerrymandered. California's gerrymandered. We should have many more seats in Congress in California. It's all gerrymandered. And we have an opportunity in Texas to pick up 5 seats. We have a really good governor, and we have good people in Texas. And I won Texas. I got the highest vote in the history of Texas, as you probably know. And we are entitled to 5 more seats.
I don't know. I have to check on that. And they expect.
Check it. Why didn't you check it, Brian?
So let's stop there right there because he's going to check it. Look at his face, man. I'm happy I caught that right there. Look at this man's face, man. He like, oh, Lord, this man, this Trump. Hey, Trump giving him that work, man. Hold on. Look at that man's face, dog. Look at his face, man. Trump giving him that work. But yeah, man, that man's face is priceless right there. But yeah, man, we covered the whole gerrymandering situation. The Democrats in Texas have fled Texas because they wanted to redistrict the territory, the map, right? Meaning that Trump basically has majority of the votes in Texas. So a lot of the Democrats' territory have flipped red. So they want to redistrict it. Now, like he was just explaining with the gerrymandering, they fled Texas because they trying to avoid the inevitable with the redistricting. And they got a good argument because they only supposed to do that. They supposed to only do it every 10 years, but the governor can override that if they feel as though they have an opportunity to get more, representation out the state. But they fled to Illinois and New York, where they have gerrymandered so badly that they can't even get no more representation. For example, like he said, Illinois has 43% voted for Donald Trump in this past election. We have 17 representatives in Congress. 14 of them are Democrats and only 3 are Republican. How do you explain that? You should have more territory for the Republicans, but they have gerrymandered, meaning that it's Democratic controlled. And the Democrats have been doing this for years with the states that they have on lock and key. They don't have zero to any Republican representatives in Congress. So now Texas is, hey, okay, y'all been doing this for so long. Now it's our turn. Now we giving y'all a dose of y'all own medicine, and they chose to whine and complain about it and try to run to different states to delay the process. Now Trump just sat up here and said, hey, I got more votes in Texas than in any other president in history. And the man sat up here, as you can see with his face right here, like he's in disbelief. So let's continue that, man. Now he said, go on here and check it.
The fact checkers expect us to check everything you say on the phone.
I want you to
but
check
for
it.
4 years, those fact checkers
didn't
fact check anything that was said about. We don't need to relitigate that either, but they expect fact checking.
Joe, why don't you
immediately.
check it, okay? Because I'd like you to. I got the highest vote in the history of Texas, okay? By a lot.
Mr. President, can I ask you back to the economy and just on some of the things we've seen with the jobs report, the weakness in those numbers that came.
Now Trump just sat up there and ate Buddy up. Old girl had to jump in. You know what I'm saying? Now Becky had to jump back in to divert the energy. You know what I'm saying? Like let me tag me in, coach. Put me in, coach.
Came out last week. People are trying to figure out where the weakness is coming from. Part of it may be because of immigration. Now, people voted you into office because they were concerned about immigration policy in this country. But if you look at the jobs report last week, it did show a 1.7 million drop off of foreign-born workers from March to July.
And that's a great number, by the way. That's a great number because it means we're putting Americans to work.
Well, the problem is immigrants have accounted for more than half of the U.S. workforce growth over the last 3 years. And so you wonder if that gets into an issue. And I know you've spoken with farmers who have had concerns about being able to find temporary workers there.
That's right.
I think their pleas have kind of hit you in a way where you looked at that a little differently.
Well, I think we're getting the criminals out of our country because they had an open border policy because they were fools and they allowed people from prisons and gang members and drug dealers into our country. We're getting the criminals out of our country by the thousands. And they're taken. We have murderers. We have people that are mentally insane. They come out of insane asylums and psych wards, and they come out of places that you don't want to know about. You would not like to see it. But they dumped everybody in our country from the Congo in Africa to all over South America. They dumped millions of people into our country that are dangerous people, and I'm getting them out. I'm working with the farmers, however, and the farmers have been great. I also got the highest vote for farmers, I think, that anybody's ever gotten. And I take care of the farmers. I love the farmers. They're a very important part of this country.
All right. Well, he ain't lying. Because in this past election, the Amish people came out and voted for Donald Trump. The farmers, the Amish people, they don't talk to nobody. They still be rocking them fists. They look like they the pilgrims from the first settlers with the long beards that be off in the woods and in the cornfields that don't talk to nobody. them people came out and voted. they ain't even post to vote, but the farmland had got so bad, bro. The farming industry got so bad that they said, bump that, man, we finna vote. Because we need to get the Democrats out of office so we can have a chance at survival. So that was huge to see the Amish people come in and vote in this last election. So he ain't lying when he say the farmers is rocking with him.
And we're not going to do anything to hurt the farmers, and we're working on that, and we're going to be coming out with rules and regulations. I mean, you'll see a farmer with the same person working for him for 20 years. The person's even paying taxes and other things. And we're looking for the criminals, the people that murdered. You know, we have 11,888 people that came into our country under Biden, with our great czar, a border czar. She never called one. You know, she was a border czar. She never went to the border, and she never made one call to the Border Patrol. You know, other than that, she did a great job. But they had hundreds of people that were murderers, 11,888 murders, 50% of which murdered more than one person in our country. We've already gotten a lot of them out, and some of them are so dangerous we don't want to bring them back. We want to put them in our own prison because we don't want them coming back. But they allowed 11,888 murderers, many of which murdered more than one, into our population, and we're getting them out rapidly.
But Mr. President, I just want to hear you clearly. You're saying the people who have been here for years and who have been even paying taxes, you're going to look at them very differently, and maybe they belong here in the workforce?
I want to work with them, and in some cases, we're sending them back to their country with a pass back in legally, and we're doing things that are very difficult to do and very complex, but it works really well. We're sending them back, and then they're schooling, they're learning, they're coming in legally. We have a lot of that going on, but we're taking care of our farmers. We can't let our farmers not have anybody, these people, that you can't replace them very easily. You know, people.
Now, that's one thing that Trump ran on, you know, that he had to lighten up on. You know, the farmers, they need those workers. So he had to kind of pull back. Like, you know, rhetoric is one thing, but when it boiled down to, you know, what's best for the country, it's nothing wrong with refocusing your policy. And this is what a great leader does. Now, he's been met with great scrutiny about that. Well, I thought you said you was going to deport everybody. Man, listen, I said that. But now that we here now, I understand that I have to refocus my policy. And yeah, we need those farmers to have those workers. So we going to put something special together for that population of illegal immigrants. So it's nothing wrong with correcting as you see fit. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, people want to be critical and everything, but hey, forget all that. This is what the country needs. This is what's best for the country. And the farmers, they need those workers. So yeah, ain't nothing wrong with that.
People that live in the inner city are not doing that work. They're just not doing that work. And they've tried, we've tried, everybody tried. They don't do it. These people do it naturally. I said, what happens if they get it to a farmer the other day? What happens if they get a bad back? He said, they don't get a bad back, sir, because if they get a bad back, they die. I said, that's interesting, isn't it? You know, these are very, you know, in many ways, they're very, very special people. Okay, go ahead.
No. Okay. So, you know, here we go. So you did get the highest number of votes.
Hey, look at them. Hey, look at them facial expressions, man. I'll be catching them right on cue, man. Now, he was the one that was sitting up there talking about, you ain't get the man, the dude, man, blowing smoke. Now, you went back and fact check, and he did get the highest votes. Now, he got to walk that back.
In Texas, so that's true. But when you're talking
about, then you don't have to say anything more, Joe.
I got to say this.
No, don't.
You ain't gotta say nothing else, Joe. Joe Schmo. Hey man, you can't make this stuff up, man. Tell me Trump ain't cooking this interview, man. That's why I wanted to react to it in real time so y'all can see how they be trying to line them up on these liberal stations, but he be, man, holding it down. You know what I'm saying? By itself, they be trying to double and triple team on him, and he be cooking them with facts, man. The man sat up there and said, man, you ain't get the most votes out no Texas and all that. And come to find out, he did his research, fact checked it, and yeah, it was all facts all the time. Joe,
don't say anything more. Don't qualify it by saying,
no,
I got the highest number of votes.
You did.
In the history
I'm moving
of
on. I'm moving on to your claim that revision helped Biden hurt you for the 800,000. It was in August. There was still plenty of time for voters to see that those weren't real jobs.
After the election in November, I believe it was in November something. There was a massive revision downward on
the
jobs.
First one, the 800,000 or 900,000, I think, was in August, and then later it came out in March of 2025. It went to 598, not 818, but the original one.
Listen, 598, but there were other revisions downward from prior to the election because the numbers were rigged. Okay. And as you said, the number, look, you take a look after the election, how many revisions downward there were. But let's get back to Texas because you said you were going to say something else. I got
Now, it makes sense when you see like they want to redistrict Texas because Trump just killed them in Texas. Like you said, he had the most votes of any other president in American history in Texas. So, yeah, they want the votes to reflect the people in Texas. The people in Texas spoke loudly. If he got the most votes of any other president in that particular state, and the Democrats, instead of just taking that on the chin, y'all got all these other states where y'all did the same exact move. It's cool when they do it. It's a problem when Trump do it. You know what I'm saying? Type situation. But Trump is actually justified in it because what he did in this election reflects what the people voted for. So how can you get mad? You know what I'm saying? You got to take your L. But the Democrats and crybabies now they facing charges and all type of fees and fines because they ran while they was trying to finish up legislation because they didn't want to be redistricted because they know they're going to lose 4 or 5 seats, but it's inevitable. And the people that of Texas have voted and they have spoken loudly. The majority, that's the democracy.
Highest vote in the history of Texas, a record that they say won't be beaten unless I run again.
Are you going to run again? The
no,
Constitution
probably not.
Okay.
Probably not.
And you're not going to fire Jay Powell. We'll go all talk about all the stuff that.
Hey, Becky, I'd like to run. I have the best poll numbers I've ever had. You know why? Because people love the tariffs, and they love the trade deal, and they love that foreign countries aren't ripping us off anymore. For years, they ripped us off, friend and foe. And the friend was worse.
Overall poll numbers, you don't have the best you ever had in overall poll numbers. You do. I cited one of those.
I have the best poll numbers I've ever had.
Among
I
Republicans.
have poll numbers where I'm 71%. I have the best poll numbers. Look,
those are among Republicans.
No. Among Republicans, I'm at 94 and 95%. No, I'm talking about generally. I have the. Let me put it this way: there was a gentleman on Harry Emden yesterday on CNN, and he went crazy over how well Trump was doing. Now, you don't put that on because I think CBS is a shade. Actually, CNN's a shade better than NBC. I think NBC is probably the worst of them all. But if you check CNN tomorrow, watch Harry Emden, and you'll see about the numbers. But that's okay. We have to defend ourselves, Joe.
I know, but there are other. They can cite. Your haters cite polls that have you down in the 30s, Mr. President. And,
but they're fake polls, Joe. I had a lot of fake polls. You also have me in the 70s. I have fake polls. Fox gives me terrible polls all the time. They do nothing, but I never had a good poll with Fox. And then I win an election and I go through the roof. Because look, I won every swing state. Did I not? I
You
won
did?
every swing state. Andrew, I won the popular vote by millions of votes. Even though they tried like hell to cheat, I won by millions of votes. I won the counties and all of the counties. I won 2,750 to 502. And
Hey man, Trump, talk your ish, man, because at the end of the day, if he don't put it in their face, they gonna act like it didn't happen. You know what I'm saying? And let's be clear, when we talking about these poll numbers, a lot of them are biased. I don't like to even really go off these polls because depending on who is presenting the poll is going to determine what the polls say a lot of times. Like these statistics, I don't really go off a lot of, you got to really be careful where you get them statistics and them poll numbers from because they be biased and they be adding and subtracting. So, it just depends on who you get it from. I like to see real results. I'm more of an intuition and intuitive. I can feel the difference. You know what I'm saying? I can see. I'm more, in tune with what's going on and how people feeling and how the money moving. And by me being in the industry that I'm in, you could kind of gauge how the economy is doing too. So it's just different, man.
I won the election in a landslide. And obviously that's only, we're only 6 months in, but my poll numbers are better now, much better than during the election. And now part of that is because the Democrat Party is self-destructing. I mean, when you have low IQ people like Crockett, I wonder if she's in a relationship to the late, great Davy Crockett, who was a great gentleman. I wonder if she's got any relationship to Davy Crockett, the great old Davy Crockett. But you have this woman Crockett. She's a very low IQ person. Somebody said the other day she's one of the leaders of the party. I said, you got to be kidding.
Hey, man, I ain't even mad at Trump for throwing shots at Jasmine Crockett. Because she sure be throwing shots at Trump, bro. She didn't call him a POS and, an orangutan. And, I mean, she be throwing mud at Trump every chance she did, man. Oh, man.
The Democrats are lost. They have Trump derangement syndrome so bad that they can't walk. They can't talk. They don't know where they're going. Schumer is finished. Schumer, look, I watched him the other day. He's lost all of his confidence.
40% of the country has. So you're never going to get above 60 in any poll, and it's because 40% have TDS, and we know that. Mr. President, we used to do this every Tuesday. It was called Trump Tuesday. Maybe we can start. This is going to be the start of something again. But we appreciate all your time today, and hope to be able to continue this discussion on all these different issues in the not too distant future, if we could.
Joe, could I finish one thing?
Yes.
1 year ago, 1 year ago, our country was dead. Now we have the hottest country anywhere in the world by far. And that was told to me by every leader of NATO, which they do whatever I want. That was told to me by the King of Saudi Arabia, by the leaders of UAE, by the leader of Qatar, by many. We were a dead country 1 year ago. Today we're the hottest country anywhere in the world, and I'm very happy to help.
Mr. President, once again, thank you. Thanks for your time.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. We'll see you soon. Thank you.
All right.
Guests that we've been talking about.
We got a chance to finish that up. Yeah, man. So, hey, Trump ain't lying, man. We definitely do got the hottest country right now. It was dead, man, under Joe Biden and them, man. Like, you ain't even see Joe Biden. You ain't see Kamala Harris. Trump every day he got something going on, man. You know what I'm saying? The visibility, somebody is working. You know what I'm saying? Whether you agree with every policy, whether you agree with a lot of things that he does and says, one thing you can say is that man working. And he visible. You ain't got to wonder where he at because he putting it in your face. But I thought that was cool, you know what I'm saying, to react to because it's 6 months in. You know, and the economy, if you ask me, like I said in part one, it's really too soon to really get a full grasp and really judge it, because we still pretty much under Joe Biden economy still. You know what I'm saying? We're not going to really see the effects of what Trump is implementing until at least a year from now. You know, the big beautiful bill, you know, it doesn't take effect until 2026 anyway. So a lot of this stuff, man, is kind of premature to talk about. But at the same time, we do want to look over the last 6-7 months and get an idea of where we came from and where we at and where we headed. And I think we headed for great things. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, man, like you said, the Democrat Party, man, has really lost it. You know, that stunt they pulled down there in Texas with the Democrats running up north. I mean, come on, man. Like, at least stand and fight with some dignity. You know what I'm saying? Y'all do the same thing. And you ran to a state that's doing the same thing you complaining about. I mean, it was just crazy. But yeah, man, I do want to kind of like, you know, keep the conversation going a little longer. You know, I've been trying to stretch the content a little bit more. So let's react to some news match. You know what I'm saying? I haven't got a chance to really check this out, but we can view it together and see what's up, man. And it's kind of that stuff that's going on in DC. I covered it yesterday. You know, with Trump bringing in the National Guard and stuff like that.
The president announced that he has had enough of living in a crime-ridden dump. Trump invoking Section 740 of the D.C. Home Rule Act, giving him control of the city's police force and its 3,500 police officers. This comes after yet another D.C. shooting at the Navy Yard this weekend, and these are just what were in the headlines here. A young teen firing into a crowd. Police all over that. A large group of teens ransacking a store on Saturday.
Man, what's up with these teenagers in Washington, D.C.? A teenager shooting in the crowd of people. They got 14-year-olds, 12-year-olds. Where are the parents of these individuals, man? Like, how is somebody 14 running around terrorizing like a whole? Now, I understand 1 or 2 kids, you know, they might just be, you know, a couple bad apples. But they swebbing down. They got like 1 million 14-year-olds running around just terrorizing Washington, D.C. It's crazy.
Saturday as well. And of course, a gang of teen punks, teenagers as well, attacking one of the smartest members of DOJ, Ed Korestein, known as Big Balls, 8 days ago. Just some of the headlines we've seen, and that doesn't cover all the crime that D.C. has seen in just last week. The murder rate in our nation's capital currently 5 to 10 times higher than cities like Nairobi, Kenya, and Addis Ababa, Ethiopia.
Look at this. They comparing Washington, D.C. to all these foreign countries. Like, that's the worst in the world. Like, DC is comparable, the homicide rate is comparable to Mexico City, like Bugatti, Colombia, Havana, Cuba. What? Like, DC got it, I'm telling you. And then they mad at Trump for bringing in the National Guard. You got to be kidding me. Crime rate is down and all that, man. Knock it off.
Ethiopia. Think about that for a second. 5 times higher than Nairobi, Kenya is the murder rate in Washington, D.C. It's pitiful. It's a joke that we even put up with this. The National Guard now being called in to bring stability back to the city. Troops will be visible in the coming days, according to the Defense Secretary. And Trump, whose personal homes are in the very idyllic locations of Bedminster, New Jersey, and Palm Beach, Florida, is clearly no longer willing to live in a dangerous dump. Take a listen.
I'm announcing a historic action to rescue our nation's capital from crime, bloodshed, bedlam, and squalor, and worse. This is Liberation Day in D.C., and we're going to take our capital back. We're taking it back. It's becoming a situation of complete and total lawlessness. And we're getting rid of the slums, too. We have slums here. We're getting rid of them. I know it's not politically correct. You'll say, oh, so terrible. No, we're getting rid of the slums where they live.
Yeah. Because who wants to live amongst crime and filth? Well, I guess the Democrat Party, but who really wants to live in that? And aware of the room that he was speaking in, the president actually leveled with the rest of the room, the left-wing reporters that were all filming him and watching him, who are all very familiar themselves with D.C. crime.
You people are victims of it, too. You know, you're reporters, and I understand a lot of you tend to be on the liberal side, but you don't want to get mugged and raped and shot and killed. And you all know people and friends of yours that happened.
And that's the crazy thing, right? Like, who would be against this? Like the video I did yesterday, man, you could go back and check it out. About, Trump sending in the National Guard. And I thought that, he didn't really have much of a choice, because we saw situations where in that video that I did, it was one situation, it was several, but it was 12-year-old to 15, a group of 12 to 15-year-old girls that beat a man to death. Beat a homeless man to death. Go watch the video. As young as 12 years old. And when they asked these kids, children, 12 years old, 12 to 15 years old, they said that they were bored. Y'all beat an elderly man, an 80-some-year-old man to death because you were bored. And then when they go to jail, they kids, so they get slaps on the wrist. A 12-year-old beating a man to death, a group of 12 to 15-year-olds. Eternalize that. Think about that. Where were their parents? That's uncalled for. That's unheard of. Young girls, not even boys, a group of girls from the ages of 12 to 15 years old, beat an elderly man to death because they were bored. You can't make this stuff up. But he shouldn't have brought in the National Guard. It sounds like they over there in Mexico City. It sounds like they're in Havana, Cuba, that's going on in the nation's capital, down the street from the White House. But Trump wrong for bringing in the National Guard. Man, and the police, what is going on in this city?
And so you can be anything you want, but you want to have safety in the streets. You want to be able to leave your apartment or your house where you live and feel safe and go into a store to buy a newspaper or buy something. And you don't have that now.
No, you don't. So today was Trump at his very best. If you didn't watch this news conference, you should have. Calling out crime and grime that we can all see and promising a no BS solution from a guy who likes to get things done and get them done fast. This is what America is starved for. But the American left and Democrats have been trying to convince you that the problem he's talking about just doesn't exist. What was described today in that news conference, what we see in Washington, what news reporters and everyone else sees every single day that they live there, what residents see all the time, that problem exists in most of the big blue cities in this country. It is a total indictment of their politics, which mandate that we all must live in squalor for some reason, equal poverty and misery for all. Why do we have to live that way, is what the president asks. And we don't. You just don't have to live that way. These cities can be beautiful and clean and fun and exciting at the same time. The new U.S. Attorney for D.C., Jeanine Pirro, brought it all home, highlighting the disaster that has become of inner city black culture and little kids who are raised terribly.
Man, yeah. Judge Jeanine, she lit it on fire. because she's out there, you know, prosecuting these children. Children going around victimizing groups of teenagers, going around victimizing congressmen and women. Not just regular citizens. You know, when I was a kid, I couldn't imagine trying to do anything to somebody that is in the government. These kids have no sense of fear. So what are they doing to the people in their community if they going to the White House victimizing Congress people? I'm going to stand on that. These children are fearless, and that's dangerous. And then they get a slap on the wrist. No, charge them as an adult. That's how you fix that. I'm with you, Trump.
Most of whom don't have fathers and become monsters by their early teens. That is the real pandemic in Washington, D.C. So much of this crime is by 15, 16-year-old kids that have absolutely no semblance of family at all. Nearly half the robberies, half the carjackings are teens, and many of them look like little kids early in high school, if they're even going to school. Remember in 2021 when two little girls tried to carjack an Uber driver? These girls were 13 and 15. The driver ended up dying in a crash while trying to speed away with his door open.
13 and 15-year-old girls carjacking Uber drivers. Are you for real? This is like an extension of the video I did yesterday. If you did not go look at that, you will be astonished at some of the things that's going on. This is abnormal. Yeah, when a real commander in chief hears stories like this, yeah, we need to send in the National Guard, dog. People trying to act like this ain't no big deal. Talk about the statistics show that crime is down. Where? When you got children out here crashing out at 13 and 15 years old, girls.
The scene was horrific. A 13-year-old girl and a 15-year-old girl did this. That is the reality of D.C. today. Here's Janine Pirro.
I see too much violent crime being committed by young punks who think that they can get together in gangs and crews and beat the hell out of you or anyone else. They don't care where they are. They can be in DuPont Circle, but they know that we can't touch them. Why? Because the laws are weak.
She was fantastic. She stole the show today. No more empathy. The law is the law. Without a tough response, we're just going to see more victims and more death. Not that anybody that runs that city seems to care. What Trump is trying to do is the most humane answer, as he's vilified for it. Democrats.
Yeah, that's the point. Not only is it saving the lives of the victims that these children are victimizing, it's going to save these children's lives because everybody not going to play with these kids. I said that yesterday too. You run up on the wrong one or the right one, they ain't going to care that's a kid. They ain't even going to know it's a kid till it's too late. Parents, man, y'all need to know where your children at all times. Because the first thing something happened to your kid, running up on somebody, trying to do them some harm, and they do something to them kids instead, you're going to be talking about how much of a good kid he was and she was. You got girls out here, man, doing heinous crimes now. 13-year-old girls stealing cars, bro. Are you serious? I can't believe this mess, man.
That's the villains. Able to ignore loads of dead black kids without a care in the world. It's amazing how many dead black kids the Democrat Party can ignore. Impressively, Trump has managed to win over D.C.'s mayor, Muriel Bowser, which probably shocks a lot of people, who's been on television admitting that her city kind of needs this.
There's more to do. We need judges. You heard Janine Pirro says she needs prosecutors, and we need police in D.C.
Now, this the mayor. At least she trying to work with the president, man. I give her kudos for that. Because you got a lot of mayors of these cities like Brandon Johnson that ain't trying to work with the president, but sitting in $1 billion deficit, begging for money every day, trying to figure out where he gonna get this money from. He on his way out the door, but got something to say about the president, and you throwing this country, you throwing this city farther and farther in debt, and ain't nobody really saying much about it. Got less than a 10% approval rating. That's unheard of. But kudos to this mayor for using her common sense and working with the president and his administration to clean up her city, because they for sure need it. If you got 13 and 15-year-old girls carjacking and unaliving people.
I'd like to hire 500 great people over the course of the next several years to get our numbers where they need to be.
Speaking to two really pissed off hosts on MSNBC that couldn't believe what they were hearing. She's game, and that's a really big deal in this process. Although, to be fair, the president is not buying her narrative from that soundbite that D.C. just needs more cops.
Sir, they've requested more police. Oh, what do they have? About 3,500. I said, 3,500? This is not a big area. It's ridiculous. What you need is rules and regulations, and you need the right people to implement them. And we have the right people here, that I can tell you.
It's ridiculous. And that's exactly right. It's not about more cops. It's about implementing the law and actually prosecuting people after you arrest them, so criminals once again become scared to commit crime.
Right. They need consequences for their actions. So clearly these people have been out here committing crime, these young people specifically. They minors. It's just, at 12 years old, man, 15 years old, to be out here doing this type of stuff, man, is mind-boggling to me, bro. Maybe one or two bad apples, but it sounds like a lot. And to be that young with that type of mindset is scary, bro. Running up on government officials. Do y'all understand? Like, this is crazy to me, bro.
Crime, because they actually think they might end up going to jail. But as Muriel Bowser falls in line with law and order, others in the Democrat Party are still in denial of all of this, holding the line, still pretending that everything is fine and Trump's just a dictator. As their radical politics destroy our society, Hillary decides to chime in with a tweet. By the way, she doesn't allow anybody to comment on her tweets, which is so insecure, writing that Trump is unhinged and D.C. crime is at a 30-year low. This is what all of the left media has.
I'm going to stop it right here. This is what the Democrats and the liberals say. What Hillary Clinton just put right here. Violent crime in D.C. is at a 30-year low. How do you explain this, man? I'm so sick of these statistics. And I'm coming up on the hour, man. So we gonna end it here with this lady and what the Democrats have been saying. When you hear the stories of 12, 13, 14, 15-year-old kids, the lawlessness in the nation's capital from children, and you got the nerve to say violent crime in D.C. is at a 30-year low. Lady, are you insane? And the only reason why y'all saying it's at a 30-year low, because they not reporting all the crime. That's the only reason why these statistics are biased. Crime ain't down. Crime is well alive in D.C., clearly. Get this off my screen, man. In closing, you know, I just have to say this, man. You know, Trump did one heck of an interview. It's been one heck of a 6 to 7 first months in his second term. It's looking promising to me for a better America, a better country for the citizens, and you know, seem like we getting back on the right track. It's still early in this whole move, but I like what I'm seeing. I'm seeing a leader that not only wants to create peace abroad, but also right here on American soil. You know, we gotta bring order out of chaos. It's too chaotic. The children are a reflection of the chaos that's going on. You know, and we gotta have tough leadership that is willing to put the work in and put the right people in place to correct the bad behavior. Because if we don't nip this in the bud right now, we ain't gonna have a country, man. It's gonna be like the Wild Wild West out here, and them children gonna end up getting hurt or hurting somebody, which they have already been doing, and that's never good. You know, as young as 12 to 13, 14 years old, man, doing heinous crimes down the street from the White House. Can't make this up, man. It breaks my heart. But I'm telling you, man, when the kids run up on the wrong person, they gonna see what it do. You know what I'm saying? You can't be out here just trying to victimize people like that. That's never gonna work. But yeah, man. I just want to say we gonna keep everybody informed of what's going on out here. And man, we appreciate y'all, you know, chiming in, rocking with us. But yeah, man, what say you? Drop it off in the comment section. It's your boy Jay Taylor, Voices for the Voiceless. We love y'all. Until next time, we'll see you soon. Peace and blessings.